Gordon Gekko actually kind of said it in as simple a way as you can say it. I mean, you think the 90s was nuts. This last decade, things happened in the financial arena that have never happened. We've had bubbles throughout history in stocks and real estate and stuff and commodities, but never like this. People are worried about the 13 trillion, that's the recent figure in the government debt. And everybody's focused on the government. The government's too much in debt. Look, from 2000 to 2008, the government debt went from 5 trillion to 10 trillion. And now it's gone another 3 trillion with Obama. Okay, that's bad. I mean, more than doubled. All of our history doubled in less than a decade. Private credit went from 19 trillion to $42 trillion. Not the Federal Reserve, banks creating money and then borrowing money against that. They give mortgages to people and then they sell those mortgages to unsuspecting investors saying they're safe and borrow against that and lend more and leverage. There's $17 trillion in debt, more than all the government debt, just in banks and financial institutions. There's 14 trillion, as much as all the government debt, a little more. Consumers at the top of the roaring 20s were only half this much in debt compared to their incomes and economy. Businesses, 11 trillion. You add it all up, $56 trillion. So 13 trillion is not the number, 56 trillion. And if you add the unfunded liabilities, which the government, this is out of government figures, if you add what the government says it would take to fund their present commitments to health care, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, $46 trillion. You add those two up, $102 trillion. You know what that is? 7 times GDP, 7 times our whole economy in debt. In the roaring 20s, we didn't have Social Security and health care. And back then, total government and private debt was more like 2 times our GDP. And you know what followed? The Great Depression. Debt, credit, asset bubbles have to deflate. There are absolutely no exceptions in history. The greater the bubble, the greater the bust. And people in areas like Tokyo or Miami or San Francisco or Tampa even say, we're special and there's no place to develop and everybody wants to live here. We can never go down. Those are the places that go down the most. The tech stocks that go up the most in the bubble, when it crashes like in the early 2000s, they go down the most. Bubbles are a phenomenon. It's human nature. Nobody can stop them. Once things go up at that level, people are drawn into it like a black hole. And they go down with it eventually. You have to understand bubbles. We have never seen a credit debt bubble like this in history. And this debt will continue to deleverage and deflate over the next decade. And Japan's been going through this now for 2 decades. So for people to think that the government can throw a few trillion at the economy and get us out of this, it's not going to happen. The demographic trends are against us and the greatest debt bubble. This is just facts. If you understand this as an entrepreneur and investor, you're going to make money off of this. Nobody's going to see this. Nobody understands deflation instead of inflation. Nobody understands that this debt is greater than anything the government can throw at it. These guys in the government have no idea what's coming at them.